We ought to pump this show up a notch.
1, 2, 3,
go. From the middle of nowhere, outside of his bathroom, this is DJ Roberts and Jeff the Tech.
all of you get ready.
And now,
With Random Overflow.
What is going on? This is Random Overflow. I'm DJ Roberts.
And I'm Jeff the Tech.
Jeff and I are talking about the theory of the universe today on the show.
And this is Jeff the Tech with the theory of the universe.
So where were we on the topic of... I say that
We were just talking back
it
and
is
forth.
extremely rare for the Earth, for there to be multiple Earths and multiple people living. And Jeff says, well, then you're like one of the people who thought that the Earth would be flat. But if you really think into consideration, if the Earth was tilted one way on its axis, just a little teeny bit off, then we'd burn up. Or if it was tilted a little bit the other way, then we'd freeze. Or if we were just a little bit further away from the sun, we'd freeze. But we've got all these different things compiled into one that make it possible for us to live.
And there's two problems with the way you think.
Okay.
The first
There's actually
one,
way more than two.
well, there's two main issues. The first one is you're not thinking of the scale of the universe. Well, it may be a 1 in a million of the Earth. The
A
universe,
million? No, we're talking about billions because it's one in a million for the Earth
even
to
if
be
it's one
rotating it.
Even if it's 1 in a billion, there's still proven. We have found other Earth-like planets.
Yes.
We have found others that are exactly like Earth.
Uh-huh.
And there's no difference. We have already found these. And the other very critical...
Do you think on that planet there's two people living on it who get together every week and do a radio show?
Well, that would be
talk
if you
about
did
random
believe on a
things?
different universe theory, but that's a different topic. And the other pretty extreme problem that even our government makes, and one that's a bit controversial, mostly because of religions, is you're assuming that they are going to be like you. You're assuming that extraterrestrial life is going to be like you. They're going to have one head, 2 arms, 10 fingers. They're going to walk around on 2 feet. That's what you're assuming.
Yeah.
And that's a very bad assumption. And the reason that's a very bad assumption is look at our own planet, okay? And look at a jellyfish, okay? If you look at a jellyfish and you look at it has no bones, it doesn't walk, it doesn't have a head, it's just this pile of slime that moves around. And you looked at a planet, you would be like, there's no way, that's just water.
Jeff knows all about jellyfish because he loves the show SpongeBob, and that's what they catch. They go jellyfishing. Sorry.
But that's what you would think. If you looked at a planet where it was just where jellyfish live and the pressure was way too high and the temperatures were way too low, and you would just think there's no way that life could be there, but there is. And the Earth proves this. I mean, we've found things living on the bottom of the ocean in cyanide, which is the most deadly thing that we know of, at pressures that we would just crush into a golf ball size, you know? And that's one of the really bad assumptions we make with finding other life, is we're looking for us, which... who's to say they're even going to talk, or they're going to see light?
You say NASA does this all the time?
It's sad. I hate to say this, but
You're one of those people who actually watch the NASA channel.
I don't, because I think it's a giant waste of money. Our government funds a thing called the Search for Extraterrestrial Life, and
that's where the taxpayers' money is going.
Well, I think it's a good idea.
They're just going about it wrong. You don't agree with the way.
I don't agree with the way.
Okay.
Because I look at this as history, okay? 10 years ago, we weren't at the level of technology we were at today. That's unmistakable.
Yes. Did you hear about that new micro SD card?
I did, yeah.
That little teeny thing that could fit on your thumbnail can now hold 200 gigs. And
you know,
I dropped my jaw when I heard that they had a 32 gig one. And I remember before that, a few years before that, when I heard they had a 2 gig micro SD card.
Put it this way, in high school, when I had a 128 meg flash drive, it was a pretty good flash drive.
Yeah.
Nowadays, I carry around 264 gigs like they're...
Oh, a 64 gig flash drive.
Around. Yeah, like who cares? But that's the thing is, even and then you go 100.
Back in the 80s when Apple said introducing our new 400 megabyte hard drive, now available for only $3,000.
And now put yourself back
40 megabytes
100 years ago, when if you pulled out an iPhone, you would have been burned at the stake as a witch. Okay.
Yeah.
And at that point, we had no idea in the slightest that radio existed. We didn't know about X-ray. We didn't know about gamma rays. We had no freaking clue.
Imagine 100 years ago going to the doctors to get just a simple procedure done today. Like, okay, in a month I'm getting my wisdom teeth removed. And they said, oh, don't worry, we'll give you a pill before, and we'll give you nitrous, and you'll just be totally out. And... You
back then, you would have been tied to a tree, and the thing would have been pulled out with some
pliers,
old-style pliers. But what you got to think of is...
Here's some vodka. You swig this down before and after the procedure, and you'll pull through. And you'd probably bleed out and die, and they'd be like, why are we pulling out teeth?
Yeah.
Because they didn't pull out teeth.
But what you got to think of is, what are we going to discover in 100 years?
I know. I can't wait for it. I can't wait to see my kids being like, Daddy, you bought me the 200 gigabyte or the 200 terabyte iPhone. And I'd be like, I had a 16 gig iPhone when I was a kid, all right?
But here's the thing.
And they'd be like, 16 gigs? You can only hold 10,000 songs on that. Am I close?
Yeah.
Okay. You can only hold that many.
If you highly compressed them.
Okay, well.
Here's the thing. What you need to consider with extraterrestrial life is they didn't follow our technological pattern. Mm-hmm. They could be 1,000 years ahead of what we're at right now. And they could know of things like how we discovered...
1,000. They could be 1,000,000 years ahead of us.
Well, I'm just saying on the thin terms. They could know of things that... ways to communicate that aren't even something that we could imagine. I mean, when you talked about radio to someone who was born in the 1600s, they couldn't have fathomed the idea. It's a problem with
radio's pretty simple, you know.
That's a problem with the universe.
If you look at the early radios, you know
the best way to say this is think of if you were blind trying to think of light. You couldn't do it. If you were blind, you couldn't do it. So think of it the same way. We can't imagine what they have in 1,000 years. We can't do it. You know, it's the same way, like if you were blind, you couldn't imagine what colors look like. It's the same exact way. Mm-hmm. It's impossible. Our brains just can't do it. So when we go looking for extraterrestrial life, it's like someone in the modern day going on the internet and looking for someone sending out DOS code. You know what I mean? We're not...
You're such a nerd. No one knows what DOS code is these days.
It's like the very earliest programming languages, but it's not even a language. It's nothing. We make calculators that outperform it. Let's put it that way. But
yeah, imagine that. Like back, you remember like the original computers that would like fill up rooms and rooms of machines.
Anyways, yeah.
Rooms and rooms of machines that could do the same thing that a calculator can do.
Yeah.
Of these huge machines that would take a massive amount of electricity, and you know how proud of themselves they were that they could do that.
You know, me and Mr. Wyatt from high school used to go on about this stuff because
you were one of those kids.
I had him for physics.
You were one of those kids that argued, with what you were being taught. You know, I respect that.
And he actually thought I had some decent points, and I still believe in some of these points. If you think about it like I've just described, that you can't imagine it, just like radio, do you really think that a civilization that may not talk the way we talk, may not see the way we see, may not feel things the way we feel things, is going to be using the same microscopic dot in the universe of communication methods that we use?
Mm-hmm.
And you got to think, is it even worth looking? Because then you've got to think, if aliens want to be found, they're not going to do that. They're not going to use the
same
method
things that we're using.
You see,
we're
they're going to show up on the White House's front door, knocking on it like, "Hey, what's up?" You know, that's what they're going to do, and that's the same way you can debunk alien videos on YouTube. Is if an alien is smart enough to fly its spaceship across the sky at beyond light speed, which I also don't think light is the absolute speed limit. It's not even logical to think that. Science, I don't get you, science. That's one thing I don't get. But
quote of the day from Jeff the Tech: "I don't get you, science."
I'll touch back on this subject in a second. And Mr. Wyatt was actually kind of shocked by this same statement. But it's just the thing. Do you really think they're going to do something stupid like make noises in the sky? Okay, let's just think about this. If I can fly my spaceship through the sky and do things, am I going to make noise? You know, like, am I going to make it obvious that I'm here unless if I want to be found?
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying?
I do.
And it doesn't make sense. You know, it's if they want to be found, they're going to be like, "Hey, you know, what's up?" And either most likely they're not going to be hostile because they're not going to have a reason to be. That's a thing I never really understood.
No, you don't understand. The Earth has resources that they need.
Like what?
H2O.
And so does the moon, and they don't have to deal with us. You know, that's the thing, is like...
Hey, no, I'm just making fun of the movies, okay?
That's my point. Most likely, if they showed up, it would be on a humanitarian level to help progress us. That is what would most likely be the level. It would be no different than when us from today go help a small African tribe.
Uh-huh.
It would just be on a humanitarian level.
Wow.
And that's what they would do. There's no logical reason that they would come to this planet and take it over. Because there's just, if you want water, there's asteroids that are giant chunks of ice that float around, and nobody's going to screw with you.
Probably
you know?
bigger
They're
than
just,
this Earth.
Yeah, they're just there. Nobody's there to fight you. You don't have to deal with anyone. You can just take it and it's yours. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there's just no reason for them to. But also on the same hand, if they were here and they were on this planet...
So you don't believe in any of those stories where the farmer goes,
Not in the
"They
slightest.
sucked me up after they made the I always go, every episode I always resort to this voice. "They sucked me up into their spaceship and shoved the probe in my butt." You don't believe those stories?
No. That's just a guy who smoked too much of what he was growing. But the thing is, if we can develop X-ray and see the inside of a body,
Yeah.
there's no reason they gotta shove something up your holes to find out what's up with you, okay? Do I not have a point?
You do. That was very good, Jeff.
I mean,
I'm very impressed.
If at this technology level we can
And
see
we've
the
only
inside
been
of your
doing
body.
we've only been doing this for how long?
Yeah.
X-rays have been.
Okay, first off, there's no reason they've even got to abduct you, okay? If they're that technologically
advanced where
they're
could
doing it right
fly
now,
to us.
and I don't even know they're doing it. You know,
You are so smart.
that's the thing, is it's just, you got to think this way on the internet. And I hate to say it, everyone, but you're an idiot. The average person's an idiot.
Here we go again.
Jeff
Jeff always has this thing, like, I'm like, "Jeff, how come this is this way, or how come that's that way?" And Jeff's go-to answer, which is 100% correct, the average person is an idiot.
You know, I
it's
hope...
because the government.
I hope you as the listener...
Sorry.
I hope you're not the idiot, but statistically, you're the idiot. So
Did you just
I'm
call
sorry,
our listeners idiots?
But I hope they're not.
Okay.
I hope they're not. That's all I can say. I just know the vast majority of people, they see something on the internet and that's that.
That's that.
And even things you learn at school.